And we are live.
Acting foolish, overdressed, confusing the crowd. You won't see me at this bar again. Happy hour, habit stars, my feet on the ground. Whiskey 7 on my cardigan. Last night, ain't in my clean slate. And I got nothing but energy.
Coming to you live from the great state of Wisconsin is the Overdue Sports Team. I am your host, Will Massa. To my right is my co-host, as always, Jake Sawinski. How we doing today, buddy?
I'll pass. We are deceased. Bad week. You'll hear about it more on the weekly recap, but this week was a struggle. But ready to talk college basketball as always. Despite the poor betting, I feel like most of the videos we've done, we've actually made some very good looks on some of these conference tournament previews. I think.
Yeah, if you haven't tuned in yet, we banged some today. Some teams finally punched their ticket. We were on Longwood. They punched the ticket today, and Drake beat Indiana State in a wild one. And they punched the ticket. So we got two. Green Bay was a bit of a clunker out in the horizon, but other than that, we're doing pretty good in these. So hopefully y'all have tuned in and maybe bet a handful of these.
That's part of the problem. I didn't bet too many of those ideas.
No, I didn't either.
No, but like that's part of the problem. That would have saved the week like Longwood. I don't remember what the odds were exactly, but it was at least plus 500, probably plus 500 to 1,000, somewhere in that range. 10-1 would have like gotten a shovel for
That would
me.
have saved the whole week.
Yeah, no, I've been asked, but it's all right. We're going to keep a positive attitude for the rest of the conference tournaments because there's still a lot of basketball left. I mean, you might not get it all back, but we can take a dent out of the deficit, pay our bills, right? So
yeah, we're gonna be shoveling out here in March. But today we're breaking down some more bigger conferences. We got the ACC, the Big East, and the A-10 today. We're gonna kick off with the ACC, and this one is gonna be really interesting to me. We saw UNC and Duke play yesterday. UNC won outright. That should secure the 1 seed for them. Then we'll see Duke, Virginia, Pitt, Clemson, Syracuse, Wake, Virginia Tech, Florida State, NC State, BC, Georgia Tech, Notre Dame, Miami, and Louisville. I've alluded to this before. I'm not super high on Virginia this year. I never am, and I think a lot of people think like that with Virginia. I don't like that style of ball. But UNC looks tough right now, man. They're playing good basketball.
yeah. Sorry, there's some neighbors outside grilling, and they are being a little obnoxious, but that's okay. I'll have to go shut the patio door after this. But yeah, I feel like to me the ACC, in the last 20, 30 years, Jesus, that's annoying. The last 20, 30 years, they've been like the premier basketball school, and I feel like that's gone. This conference is very, very top heavy, and then there is a significant drop off in the remainder of the playing field. You alluded to it already. Virginia's not anything special. I mean, the laggards in this conference are staggering, right? Like Georgia Tech's really bad. Boston College is really bad. Notre Dame is really bad. I wouldn't even consider like Syracuse any good. Pitt's in the same boat. Pitt's a little better. Virginia Tech's in the same boat. Like somebody's got to win this conference, and like I don't think it's going to be North Carolina either. Like I'm kind of inclined to think Duke would. I don't like it. I mean, Duke's very annoying. We've been very public about that. But like I think North Carolina always seems to like have a clunker, Like they've lost some bad games, right? Or games they shouldn't have lost, I should say. Excuse me. I think Baycott was like, yeah, the ACC still runs through Chapel Hill, and then they lay a dud against Cuse. You know what I mean? So I'm not saying that he's going to say something stupid in the next 3 days, but like I would be a little surprised if UNC did win, even though like I shouldn't be. Them and Duke are still the two best teams in this conference. Miami surprised me, like how poor they've been.
Yeah,
especially after that run last year.
yeah.
But they're not a team.
Do you think Larinaga might be on the hot seat after this year?
I don't know. I mean, it's hard to put them on the hot seat, despite like that awesome tournament run they had last year. Like for
Hmm.
this year, I feel like you could cut them some slack. But I'm not sure. I wouldn't say like should be on a hot seat or anything. But they're definitely not the same team they were, despite having a lot of the guard play. I think they lost one of their guards, but like Poplar's still there, and they got I think Isaiah Wong might be the guard who's gone. But yeah, they've been just disappointing. Like I think the expectations were super high this year, just coming off of that Final Four appearance, where they kind of the public darling, along with Kansas State and a couple other teams that like really had the public's love. They came through until they got smoked by UConn. But yeah, the expectations were there, but the results haven't been. Um, I would like to see where their odds are. Like if they're like under 10-1 or 20-1, I would be shocked. Somewhere in there, like if they were shorter than that. But I don't know. Like this conference, I don't have a good read on. It's just because it seems like it's almost kind of been like that Pac-12 type of play, where like you get a lot of upsets, and they're like upsets you see coming too. Like how the sports book will put out a short line that's super telling. There's a lot of that. Like Georgia Tech and Notre Dame have like some pretty big wins despite being awful. Um, Boston College has been in that situation, but they don't seem to come through. Virginia Tech's kind of in that boat too. Like they've been very disappointing. Pitt, same thing. So, like, I don't know. Like, I just have a hunch that North Carolina isn't going to do it. If I have egg on my face at the end of the ACC tournament, I wouldn't be surprised either. But like as vanilla as it is, like I kind of like Duke. I don't know if you have any thoughts or a team that you think has a pretty good chance based on where they're seated or where they're priced, but I don't know.
Yeah, and
Something tells me
we
Duke.
actually do have betting odds out. I forgot they wrapped up yesterday. So we've got Carolina at plus 150, Duke plus 160, Clemson as the 3 seed at plus 850, Wake plus 900, Pitt plus 1200, Virginia plus 1900, Virginia Tech plus 3000, Cuse 6500, Florida State 10-1, NC State 15-1, Miami 15-1, Notre Dame and Boston College both 30-1, and Louisville 50-1. So
Oh, how could we
um,
forget about Louisville?
how could we forget about Louisville?
Yeah.
Awful.
Well, I did not. I was not unaware of the betting odds before you said that, but I think that kind of just summed up what I said.
Yeah,
Like pretty well.
100%.
Like Clemson's good. Like I did not mention Clemson going through every team there. Clemson's solid. Like they're really good, and they're 9-1. Like if
Yeah.
I'm betting a team outside of Duke or North Carolina, it's probably Clemson. That's as far low. That's as low as I'd go, because Clemson can beat both of those teams. Like if they play a perfect game, and
Yeah, I
like
agree.
those three teams shouldn't struggle through the first or second round. Like they shouldn't, but one of them will. You know what I mean? Like it's not going to be chalk in the championship. I wouldn't imagine. The last couple of years it has been. So once again, like if I have egg on my face, well, I was wrong. But it's just a hunch. I just think Duke third time's a charm. Like North Carolina won the first one, right? They won last
Yeah,
night.
no, I think
Yeah,
Carolina
they
swept.
swept the season series. Yeah, so
Yeah.
like it's tough to beat them the third time, and Duke would be ready to go for that one. Because I mean, it's been how many times in a row now? You
Yeah,
had Coach
100%.
Coach K's retirement party spoiled in the Final Four. I think they split last year. I don't remember if they played in the conference tournament or not. But yeah, for me, like this field's super short. It would be one of those three if I'm backing anybody, and I like Duke the most. As much as it pains me to say, like if I were to bet on this conference tournament champion, it would be Duke.
Yeah, I would agree. I mean, they had those guys come back this year for a reason. Like the older guys, like Flip came back. It was specifically for this, so I would not be surprised to see Duke win it. I think you're right. Clemson is probably the next best pick. They are
Yeah,
coming out of
but
that bottom
like
bracket, so
yeah,
we
but it's just
see Duke and
it's
Clemson.
priced so steep, like 10-1 for a really good team. I mean,
Yeah,
unless like there's just so much handle on one of those two teams, and like there's some chance. Like they could. Like I'm not saying they can't. Like if they play a good game, they can beat each of those teams. There's no debate about that. And like you've seen both of them stumble from time to time all season too. But just the way they're priced, Clemson seems too good to be true at 10-1 despite being a good team. And then you've
Yeah, I
got
agree. And I
two
don't
of
like
them.
Wake. And Wake is the what seed is Wake? Wake is the 5 seed at the fourth best betting odds at plus 900. Like that team has been ridiculously bad on the road. That's my thing with them. Like they obviously like they had the big court storming against Duke. Like they've been good at home. Um, they're talented, like super athletic team, but I don't think they're going to rattle off this conference tournament win. I think it is going to be pretty chalk. I would go with Duke.
Mm-hmm.
Um, yeah, I agree. Carolina, I mean, that's tough, man. Beating them
No,
three
and
times in 1 year.
yeah, and it's like for me, like I said multiple times, if Carolina wins it, I wouldn't be shocked. It's just like I just have a hunch. I just have a hunch that they're not going to win that conference
Yeah,
tournament. Like there's no debate. Like they're going to be playing in the big tournament, and they're going to be playing. They'll probably be what, a 5 seed at the lowest. I'd have to imagine. You know what I mean? Probably even better. Like I don't pay a ton of attention to bracketology, but 3 to 5, 2 to 5, probably not a 2, 3 to 5, somewhere in there. Because I mean they're ranked for sure. Like they're probably like a top 15 rank. I'd have to imagine they're like 14 or something.
yeah.
But
I
it's just a hunch.
yeah. I mean, technically, I mean, Clemson is like nearing long shot odds. As crazy as that is, like
Yeah, and
it's not a
they're the
team
third
that.
best team in the conference.
Yeah,
And like they showed flashes last year and fizzled out, and they did the same thing this year. Like they were a top 20 team early on, and then they went on a really bad stretch of games, fell out of the top 25, and I think they're back in it. Like maybe top 20, like maybe 18 or 19. But maybe that's where they're peaked. They might not be there anymore. But yeah, like to me, they would be like the longest I'd go, and them being 10-1 is just absurd. That's too good to be true. Like I don't think it's gonna happen.
no,
And
I don't think
Vegas
so
thinks so
either.
too.
Yeah, I'm shocked at these odds, dude. Like I did not expect Clemson as the 3 to be that steep.
Yeah, you'd think like plus 500, plus 600, and then Duke and North Carolina would be a little longer than less than 2-1. I mean 3-2. That's almost like not even worth wagering on. Like if you like one of them to
No,
stumble, like we like Duke, North Carolina is right there. Like I mean, to me, it's one of those two. But I also wouldn't be surprised if one of them does like stumble, and then a team like Wake Forest or Clemson's in the championship game.
yeah, I 100% agree. I think those are probably the best 3. Like I even really wouldn't look at Pitt is just so confusing to me. They went on that run last year
They
where it
all
seemed like
are.
they just like Pitt just like
They all
refused
are.
to die last year.
Mm-hmm. And they weren't good last year.
No, they weren't, but they just like shot the lights out from 3
Yeah,
straight
well,
games.
1 or 2 games they did. Yeah,
Yeah, they
but
won the play-in, and then they smoked Iowa
mhm.
State and shot like
Yeah,
65% from the
that's what
field.
I mean. But a team like Florida State, like they have to be like 20-1 or longer, right?
Florida State is 10-1. No,
Maybe that's
yeah,
maybe
yeah, ten
that's
to one.
like if you like another long shot, like they're not very good. They were really bad last year and the year before, but like they're certainly improving. Like that coach is kind of getting the recruiting a little better, and like I think there was some attention on them last year to kind of turn it around, and they were extremely disappointing. It could be the year before as well. I'm kind of, I'm not a huge ACC better, but that team's going to be annoying. Like they're annoying to bet on or against all season long. And that's kind of the story with all of these bottom ACC teams. Like none of them are like good enough to actually go anywhere, like on paper, but they're annoying enough to like accidentally go there. I guess that's what I'm trying to say. Like I wouldn't be shocked if one of these 1 through 4 seeds lose to like a 14 through 10 seed or whatever the bottom of the pool is. Like Florida State, I could see winning one game. Georgia Tech, I could see maybe winning one game. Virginia Tech, I could see winning one or two games. Like the upside's there, but the downside's more consistent with the bottom of this pool, I feel like.
Yeah, I mean it's for sure a weird tournament. This is one, and like you said, like the ACC has been a really bad betting conference for me. Um, and so like my reads on this conference as a whole have struggled, and so I still think it's Duke. I think they're just going to come ready to play.
Yeah.
I actually like them better as the 2 seed instead of the 1.
The
That's more
expectations
appealing
are
to
a
me.
hair lower. Yeah.
Yeah.
I will say though, stay away from Miami. Don't do that. Like
stay far away
forget
from Miami.
last year. It's a different year. Forget last year. And for a lot of the teams that we had talked about being winners in the past and being familiar names, like we've been right about. You know what I mean? I made the whole funny team name joke with Longwood and Lipscomb
And
and
Moorhead.
Colgate and Moorhead State. Yeah, like I kind of lucked into the Longwood one because I made a joke and like they're not that good, but they were priced a little weird. So like I was like, oh hey, maybe Longwood has some life in this. Turns out they won the whole thing. Stay away from the darlings of years past because they're not the same team. I bet Oral Roberts to cover last night. They were up like 10 to open the game. They scored 5 points the rest of the half. They scored 16 points in like 6 minutes, and they scored 5 points in 16 minutes. Like, just learn it from me. Like they're not good anymore. There's a reason why they're priced that way. Miami's not going to win this tournament.
Yeah, I 100% agree. Those bottom teams are just not good in the ACC. Not what we used to see. I mean, we used to see this as like a 9-bid league, and I know I think Pitt is a bubble team as the 6. Like they're gonna have to win a couple games to get in.
Yeah. Now, like if you like Miami and you don't want to take my advice, do what we talked about with Trevor on the previous, conference preview. Bet it, hedge it out. Like Miami's good enough to win a game or 2 or 3. Like they could be in. I wouldn't be shocked if they were in the semifinal, but that's probably as far as they're going to go. I'd be shocked if they won this tournament.
Yeah, I agree. Any closing thoughts with the ACC outside of that? We think Duke is Duke is the team.
Yeah, I'm kind of with you. I don't usually have a good read on this conference. Like truthfully, I bet more totals in this conference. Just kind of finding games. Like I've been pretty good on like the getting the being on the letdown spots or the short line spots. Like a couple bets on Pitt, Virginia Tech, Virginia, Wake Forest, Notre Dame. Like I was on Notre Dame a lot, but like they're bad. So it's just like they've been improving down the stretch. Like they could be a frisky out. Like if you're just looking to bet games that are on, like look for those bad teams in this conference because they'll give you a cover or 2, but like winning the whole thing, no. Like Notre Dame's not good. They will be in a couple of years, but not now.
Yeah. Moving on. One of Jake's favorite conferences, the Big East.
Yes, I love this conference. It's my favorite.
We've got the odds are out, so we've got UConn as the 1 seed minus 135. We've got Creighton at plus 425, Marquette plus 500, St. John's plus 800, Nova plus 1600, Seton Hall plus 3500, Providence plus 6,000, Xavier 11-1, Butler 11-1, Georgetown and DePaul 100-1.
Well, you can ignore those 2.
You can ignore DePaul. Might be the worst team in the entire country.
I think they're the 3rd worst Power 5, or the 3rd worst team in all of Division 1.
Yeah, it's bad. It's really bad.
Yeah, I've bet on them a couple of times, and none of them have been. Like maybe one of them have been good. They're bad.
UConn looks the part, man. I gotta say.
No, they're good. I mean, it's kind of. I shook my head when you ran through it. Minus 135 is very, very telling to me because this is a very talented top half of the field, right? Creighton's awesome. I like Creighton to actually go on a tournament run again. They're very good. They're well coached. Kalkbrenner and Baylor Shireman are older guys that lead the team. They got shooters everywhere. They play great offense. They play good defense too. You don't always notice it, but they play very good defense. Marquette's another team. Like, I feel like they've kind of been disappointing the last couple of weeks, but they're still a top 10 team and they play a very good schedule. Like, Marquette's legit. Um, UConn being minus money is a little telling, but it's kind of the same thing with North Carolina. It's just a hunch, right? They didn't win this tournament last year. They got upset, and then they end up winning the whole damn thing. So, like, if you like UConn to win the whole thing, which I don't think they do, it's so hard to repeat. Like, if they lose in the conference tournament, that might be a good sign for you. Like, if they win the whole tournament, that I don't know about that then. Like, they're not as dominant. I don't foresee, like, they're good. I think they're just as good as last year. I don't know where I was going with that. Let me rephrase. I think they can be as dominant, but like when they look poor, like from last season, from that really cold stretch they had on, they looked awesome. And that kind of carried over into this year. But like over the last couple of weeks, I feel like when they've been not good, like they've been not good. I could be wrong, and I feel like it's a shooting problem with them. Like Cam Spencer, Alex Caravan are like two of the best shooters in the country, and if they're cold, like that's a lot of their offense. I feel like guy to guy, I don't know if they're as talented as they were last year. It's like Jordan Hawkins was awesome. Adama Sanogo was super good down low. What's the big guy's name? Klingan, however you say his name. He's really good too, but I mean, if he's in foul trouble, spacing the floor comes a lot easier. You know what I mean? Or getting inside becomes a lot easier, and you can do a lot more things to cut them up defensively. So I think they're gettable. Is what I'm getting at, right? But
Yeah,
then
I
again, it's
agree.
like minus money. It's like that's telling. But they're also the number 2 seed, so I'm also not shocked. But like if I'm betting a conference tournament champion in the Big East, I'm inclined to look at the other 3. I think the other 3, like St. John's, is very polarizing. Like it seems like they struggle to string games together. Like they're finally starting to. Ever since they beat Creighton and Rick had the white suit on, it seems like it's been all uphill for them. Minus, the obvious. No, I think they even like blew through the letdown spot. Like I think they won after they beat Creighton as well. I think they played Butler, smoked Butler. Those 3 teams are the ones I'd look at: Marquette, Creighton, and St. John's.
St. John's. The opening round is actually, we were talking about this team pre-show. Seton Hall versus St. John's is the 4-5 game on Thursday. Dude, that's going to be an awesome game. And I really like Seton Hall. Seton Hall's been really scrappy in conference play. They've got good shot blockers. Like at plus 3,500, that's probably my favorite long shot.
The only thing, like we were talking about it a little bit pre-show, like you said, I just feel like all college basketball is a game of runs, right? But it seems like their runs are just debilitating. The ones they give up, like they never put teams away from what I can tell, right? Like they'll be up 10, 15, and then all of a sudden they're up 2. And I think the shooting for them is suspect because they do all those other little things well, like rebound and play defense. If they're not hitting shots, that's a problem. And I mean, Holloway is definitely used to that. He played at St. Peter's. St. Peter's might crack 55 times. You know what I mean? Like that's not a prolific offensive program he had there. So like some of that translates, but like the defense and the rebounding and that kind of game is the emphasis, along with the scoring too. Like if they're hitting shots, they're going to be tough to beat. But like if they're shooting 35%, so is the other team. Like I don't know. And I think that's going to be kind of a public look too, because Seton Hall has been very solid ahead of schedule like all season long. They've been pretty good. So for me, I wouldn't steer that direction. Like I wouldn't be shocked if they won 2 or 3 of these games. I don't think they play as many. I think there's a couple buys mixed in there as well. But you get my drift. Like to me, 35-1 is like way too good to be true, even though they are a really good team.
Yeah, I agree. Like I'm with you on Creighton. They seem to just they are. I don't know. I feel like they've been really quiet. Like I feel like not a lot of people are talking about them this year, and that just might be me. Like I feel like I haven't seen a lot of people talking about them, but they've been really good down the stretch.
Yeah, I mean, I bought Creighton last year. I was all over Creighton last year.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of the same, but like this year they've been better, like consistently, because Creighton had a really tough open. And like they won their first few games, of course, like they all do, but like they were horrible in Maui. They were horrible through the holidays, and then I bought them to make the Final Four. Had like a 12-1 ticket, so like the jury was out. Like that team was good. I was really pissed they called that foul, but I mean that was a year ago. I'm not gonna open old wounds, but I really like them this year. And like I look to go back to the future that I did last year, and they were like plus 600 to make the Final Four. So I was like, that's probably not a viable option. This team's good. They're gonna be playing in March Madness. They'll be there for sure, and I don't know. Like for me, I think St. John's is a little too inconsistent, even though I do like
Mm-hmm.
that team. Like I've always kind of liked St. John's, even when Mike Anderson was there. Like that guy would like be up 25 per full court pressing. Like the guy was just a psychopath. It was very funny to watch. But Joel Soriano is a fantastic big too. Like him and
Mm-hmm.
Kalkbrenner are probably, I mean, the guy from UConn too. But it's a loaded conference. It really is. Like it's hard to say. Oh, I was gonna say like he's probably one of the best. He is one of the best bigs in the conference, but like the best, it's hard to tell. Like it's a loaded field. Um, but they're just still like as much as I do like them and I kind of root for them, like all season by betting on them or just watching. I don't know. Like it's Rick Pitino's first year there. Just not really sure if I'm not really sure if they're just gonna what St. John's team's gonna show up. Is it gonna be the team that thumps Butler and upsets Creighton, or is it gonna be the team that finds a way to lose to Providence or struggle with whoever the hell? I don't know. If I'm betting on it, I do like Marquette though, and I will be wrong. Like this conference is chaos. That's why it's my favorite. It is anarchy. I
Yeah,
don't
this
know.
is another conference that I struggle with reading down just because like
Yeah, and I
it's so
typically
like
don't.
everyone just beats each other. They always
Mhm.
just beat each other. That's just what
Yeah,
this conference
and I
does.
and I typically don't struggle in this conference, and this year's been a little frustrating because I haven't been as good as I normally am in this conference. But yeah, like I don't know. Like I would not be shocked if UConn just mops the floor with everybody. I wouldn't be surprised if I don't know, Providence finds a way into the championship game. Like I think them losing Bryce Hopkins was like debilitating. Like that kid was really good, and they have not been
Yeah.
the same team ever since. So like Providence is a bad example, but I wouldn't be shocked if Butler strung together a few wins. You know
Dude,
what I mean?
Butler's feisty. That team,
Well, they
like
were. They're not anymore. They're back to being bad. They're bad now. Like in the
early
beginning of
on,
the
I bet
year,
them a handful of times.
yeah, I did
Yeah.
too. I was like, this might be like Butler might be something. Like after I bet Texas Tech in that Butler Texas Tech game, and it was so back and forth the entire time. Got it to overtime, and Butler ran away with it. I don't think Texas Tech scored in overtime, but I was like, Butler might actually be something because like they won a couple of big non-conference games, and then the conference season started, and they're a joke again. So like I'm so out on them, but I wouldn't be shocked if they like a team like that found its way in the championship game. But it won't be DePaul or Georgetown. Like we're not going to get the COVID miracle Georgetown or the Georgetown Hoyas. We won't be getting that again. Sorry, Ed Cooley, but this isn't your year. Next year probably isn't
No.
either. Maybe the year after. But yeah, I mean, cross off DePaul, cross off Georgetown, and I'd even say like cross off Providence. Like Providence
Yeah.
has no chance. They're not. They Cam English is trying, and that Bryce Hopkins injury was really tough for them because he was a very good 3-4 player. Stretched the floor a little bit, good rebounding, good defense, but like they are not good. And I like that team too. I've always liked Providence for whatever reason.
Hmm.
Devin Carter's awesome. That guy plays his ass off every time he's out there. Very, very good player. Goofy looking too with the frizzy ponytail perm thing he's got going on, but he's a dog. I like Devin Carter, but you can chalk off Xavier too. Like that team just got gutted with the age thing and guys not being able to play anymore. Like that team was awesome last year. You had Colby Jones,
Mm-hmm.
Adam Nunge. I don't know how you say his name. I always call him Nunge. And Kyle Semrad, aka Zach Freemantle. Great, like just good, awesome program last year. I think they ended up. Who did they lose to in the tournament last year? I don't remember. Texas, maybe. I don't know if Texas won or they beat Texas, but like great, good team, just shambles, like shell of its former self. Sean Miller's got a project on his hands, but I mean, aside from those four teams, like Xavier and Butler, I'd kind of classify the same.
Mm-hmm.
Wouldn't be shocked if they found a way to win a couple, but I mean, outside of those 4 or 5, I think anybody could like be in the championship game.
Yeah. No, I agree. This conference is going to be nuts, and I'm really excited to watch this one. This is always one of my favorite conference tournaments.
And it's like a spotlight too. They play at Madison Square
Yeah,
Garden.
they played the Garden.
Yeah,
Awesome.
it's gonna every game's gonna be on my TV. I don't care if it's UConn and DePaul. I'm gonna watch it. I'll find a way to bet like DePaul team total under 8. Like I'll do it. Like I love the Big East.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think Creighton is a pretty good look. I would look at targeting Seton Hall to steal a couple of games. Like they could be a bid stealer. I don't know what they're at in the bracketology world.
I mean, I haven't looked in a couple
of
weeks,
either.
But they were like one of the first 4 and last 4 out fringe teams, along with St. John's and Butler. I think St. John's has played themselves in. Like if they win a game, that'll probably cement it for them.
Yeah,
if
and they play Seton Hall in game 1.
Yeah, so that's tough. It might be a winner gets in kind of game. Even though I think St. John's probably has the leg up just because they've won a couple more games down the stretch. Mm-hmm. I'm not sure what Seton Hall did yesterday. I know I bet them against Butler on Thursday, I think, but I don't recall how they've been playing. I know Butler's like done. Like Butler would probably have to win the thing to get in. But I love the Big East, even the chalk years. But you never know either because UConn won the whole damn tournament last year, and I think they were out in the second round in the Big East tournament last year. So I'm ready for it. But like if I'm betting, I'm looking at Creighton, Marquette, and like my long shot would be St. John's. I just think the other ones are too bipolar, I guess you could say. And I wouldn't be shocked if UConn won it. They're good.
Yeah.
They're good.
Yeah, I agree. From a betting standpoint, Creighton is probably the best look.
Yeah. I mean,
in my opinion.
I think they match up the best along with Marquette. I think they both match up with UConn the best, like on both ends of the floor. Like they both play defense. They both can score as well. They're all well coached. That's a big factor. Like the other coaches in this conference are like either up and comers or they're not very good, or like they've just taken over a job. Oh, how could you say that? Rick Pitino's like arguably the best coach ever. It's his first year there. You know what I mean? Like he lost a ton of his talent. I was at St. John's last year. Pasha Alexander is playing for Butler. Andre Curbelo, as frustrating as that guy could be, had very good court vision. He was a good point guard, couldn't shoot, couldn't score, besides, doing reverse through his legs layups and closing his eyes with his reg specs and seeding a pass, 50 feet, is playing for Southern Mississippi. Don't know how that happened. Talk about, he's like the JT Daniels of college basketball, failing downwards, like literally. JT Daniels was at Georgia, and then he transferred to like Oklahoma or something, didn't play there, and he played at Rice. Like Curbelo is doing the same thing. Don't know how we got there, but Shaka Smart, Greg McDermott, and Dan Hurley are like the personalities that are gonna, prevail at the end. But then again, wouldn't be shocked if St. John's was right there too.
Right there.
Pitino gets 100%. The most out of them. They might not like him, but like he's coaching his ass off. That's for damn
Yeah,
sure.
he is. He had that crazy press conference like 2 weeks ago.
Yeah,
He said he's like, "This is the
I
least fun
want
he's
to
ever
kill
had coaching
myself.
a team."
Yeah, I
Yeah,
literally want to kill myself when we lose. Yeah, but like they might not like him, but like for all the teams, if all the shortcomings they have, he's getting the most out of that team. Like Mike Anderson wouldn't be doing that. This team would be like really bad if he was still there. He's getting something out of him. That's kind of why I like him. Like that's my long shot look. It would be St. John's, and it's not that long, but this conference is too loaded for me to consider a long shot just based on how some of the laggards play. Like even when Creighton and UConn and Marquette lose, it's not that bad.
no.
You know what I mean? Like when St. John's or Seton Hall or Xavier or Butler lose, they look awful, like horribly
Mm-hmm.
awful. And
Like
like Xavier
really
lost to
bad.
Oakland. You know what I mean? Like they're awful when they lose, and the top three aren't. So
Yeah,
I mean, St. John's. You said you like Seton Hall. I
like
won't
Seton
shame
Hall's a long
that, but
shot.
I wouldn't shame that, but I don't think that's happening. Like that guy's
Yeah,
already had a magical Cinderella run. He's better than Kevin Willard, though. Let me tell you that. But yeah, for me, it's Marquette or Creighton, maybe St. John's. Those would be the three looks I would have. It's just a hunch thing. I don't think UConn's going to win the tournament, and I think they're going to, have a Sweet 16 appearance. I think they'll get knocked off, though. I don't see them going to the Final Four again.
yeah, I agree. I mean, toughest thing to do is repeat in college basketball. Like
Mm-hmm.
I don't think they're, and they, to their credit, they're playing probably the best they've played all season right now.
Yeah,
They
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 look
look the part
dominant.
right
Yeah.
now. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, outside of the Creighton game where they were stinky,
Mm-hmm.
like they just couldn't hit a shot. Um, they've stumbled a couple of times, but like not too bad. I mean, they're two in a country. They've been there like all year.
Yeah.
I think they're two or three. I don't know if Purdue's two or they're three. I'm not sure. I know Houston's one, but
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I don't know. They're good. They're really good. It's just a hunch thing. Same thing with North Carolina. Just don't see them doing it again.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. Moving on to a conference that Jake talked about last week, the A-10. Um, this one might surprise you. So we've got Richmond as the 1 seed plus 475, Loyola Chicago plus 550, Dayton as the 3 seed at plus 150, the betting favorite, UMass plus 700, VCU plus 1,000, Duquesne plus 1,400, Bonnie's plus 1,300, George Mason plus 1,500, St. Joe's plus 2,500, LaSalle 35 to 1, Rhode Island 50 to 1, Fordham 35 to 1, Davidson plus 5,000, St. Louis 40 to 1, and George Washington 40 to 1 as well.
G Dub. G Dub.
I Loyola Chicago might be primed to take this thing.
I think so too. They last year was their adjustment period in the A10. Moved from the Missouri Valley, or is it the Ohio Valley? I think it was the Missouri Valley.
Yes, I believe
Either
you're right.
or, one of the
Yeah.
valleys. They transitioned and they were horrible in A10 play last year. Absolutely horrible. I can speak to that in first person, second person, third person. Doesn't matter. I bet on them. I watched them. They were horrible all year long. That's not the case. All the money I lost betting on them against the spread last year, I have recouped. This team is good again, and they cover spreads. Does that mean they're going to win the tournament? I don't know. I feel like the top half of the A10 is solid, and they all kind of play the same way. Like they can score 90 points or they can score 50 points, and nothing would shock me here. Kind of like the Big East. It's very similar. Talent-wise, no, but like the contrast in styles that they both kind of mesh to, like they win games all kinds of ways. Um, to me, I kind of like Duquesne. I kind of like Duquesne at 14 to 1, and it's kind of like with the Loyola Chicago thing, right? Just it's hard to really use against the spread as reasons why to bet them, but like if you go a little bit deeper, when you're betting them as favorites most of the time, because Duquesne is solid. What are they seeded? Like 5?
They are
5, 6.
yeah, I believe so.
When they're
They're
covering
the
spreads,
6th seed. So yeah.
yeah, when they're covering spreads as a favorite, that means they're winning games they should, right? And they have been. Like I know, in the beginning of the season, they were not doing that. Like a lot of people were laying points with Duquesne, and they'd lose outright. That flipped in about mid-January. Like they're winning the games they should be winning. Do I think they're going to win this tournament? No. Most people don't even know where Duquesne is. I'm one of them. I know how to pronounce it, but I don't know where it is, and I don't care to know where it is. Most people have never heard of this school, rightfully so. But they're good. Like they're good enough to. I think that number is worth it for me to play, even if I know they're not going to win, just because I think they could win. Like Dayton to me doesn't like they're still ranked somehow. But like Dayton's always like the one team out of this conference that gets consistent respect. Them and like I'd say
Mm-hmm.
VCU and Richmond. Well, maybe not even Richmond. Richmond's always like super solid but under the radar. I feel like to most casual or like casual to, vested college basketball viewers. Davidson just kind of has the Steph Curry effect. Everyone knows that Davidson because of him, and they're not very good this year. But
No.
it's like VCU and Dayton typically get all of the love in this conference, and like Duquesne is solid, right? And like VCU and Dayton beat up on each other. Like they just played yesterday. VCU was up all game and they choked, right? So it's like that's the thing with this conference that I notice a lot. Like the teams just have crippling cold spells. Like any team either. And like perfect example of what I was saying earlier, how like any of these teams can win any which way. The first game, VCU played Dayton. I think VCU was on the road. They didn't score for the last 6 minutes of the game, and they won 49-47.
Yeah, I was
Yesterday,
on that game.
yeah, so was I. I didn't play a money line because it was like +6, I think I said, but it was a scary or +4. It was a scary view for the last 15, 20 minutes of the game because they weren't scoring, but neither was Dayton.
No.
Yesterday they played. I think Dayton won like 93-89. And I mean, I don't like you don't know it's kind of similar to the Big East. Like you don't know what you're gonna expect, except like where the talent is more spread out in the Big East because they're better schools, obviously. It's a little more consolidated toward the top, but I still think the middle of the pack is still like viable betting looks. St. Bonaventure's another team. Like
Mm-hmm.
that coach has been there a long time. He's a wily veteran of a coach that's been in the tournament. They've been on tournament runs before. Like that defense pairs well with, winning games in March. I wouldn't be shocked if St. Bonaventure played themselves into the semifinal. Duquesne is just like hey, maybe you've been playing well as of late. Like I said, I don't think that's a viable betting option, but like for your likely one, I kind of like VCU, even though I did not like them last year whatsoever. Like
They play really good defense.
yeah, exactly. And they're the one team that kind of they beat Dayton once, and Dayton's like the best team in this conference, despite being the 3rd seed. They're still ranked somehow, but they kind of let it slip yesterday. But like seems like the one team in the conference that can handle Dayton.
Yeah, there is one team down the list. Like I wouldn't go much further than Duquesne. I actually think that's a pretty good betting look. I think you're right. George Mason as the 8 seed at plus 1,500. That team is really tough for me to get a read on. I hit them yesterday. They beat Richmond like very handily yesterday. In a pretty stinky line spot. They were laying a point against Richmond at home, and they handled them. Like that team is really athletic. I think they're capable of winning any team, of beating any team in the conference, but I don't see them stringing them together. I don't know. That's how I see George Mason. like what they have, but they don't bring it every game. Like they very easily could lose to like a LaSalle, just as easy
Yeah, and I
as I
think
could see them beating Dayton. Like I just don't know
yeah,
what you're gonna get out of them.
and I
Like
think
they
that's the
rebound well. It's just
yeah, I think that's the problem with most of the teams, even the good teams. It seems like they don't
mhm,
bring it a lot of the times, and that's kind of conducive to how they win. 90 to 85 or 40 to 45, right? Like they don't bring it all the time. I don't know if it's like the talent thing or a coaching thing or just a kid thing. I don't know. But it seems like this conference is wild because like they win and lose in vastly different ways every time they play each other. But outside of like I kind of like Duquesne. It's a little bit of a hunch thing. You kind of like
mhm,
George Mason as a team, but like you don't see him really going anywhere. I don't either. Kind of the same
yeah.
thing with Duquesne, but like I think Duquesne is probably like the most talented team in that 10 to 15 to 1 range. St. Bonaventure, they can play some good defense and find a way to hit free throws and layups maybe, but like this team's not like anything special. Um,
Mhm,
I mean, Dayton's obviously the betting favorite, but I don't think they didn't even like win their conference in the regular season, and they're the betting favorite, still ranked.
mhm.
Is that because they played a better non-conference schedule? Probably, but I don't really like that team to get out of the A-10. Um, I think they have the highest
UMass,
ceiling.
yeah. UMass at plus 700 kind of intrigues me. Frank Martin is a
Yeah,
really
that's
good
that's
skipper.
short. I think that's short too. That might be a good look.
Yeah, as the 4 seed. So they'd be in the same half of the bracket as Richmond, which I
Mhm.
think is the better matchup for them. That might be one that I actually like look at legitimately.
Mhm.
Um,
What did you say
that's a
Loyola
solid group,
Chicago
man.
was? Yeah. Oh yeah.
Loyola Chicago is plus 550 as the 2 seed,
Yeah,
which I like a
like
lot.
I do too, but like I've been kind of thinking about it. Like I kind of gave him a tug job before, but I don't know. I feel like everyone might think of that just because they're a familiar name, even though it has been a long time ago. But to their credit, they are actually really good. Like my whole Duquesne story, they're the same thing. They've been doing it all year. Like they've been
Yeah.
very better friendly. Like people who like play those nasty favorites or take the 2 3 points there. They've been good all year, contrary to what they were last year, and that's a big improvement. So maybe not a future for them, but like probably ride them as long as I can. But I like VCU might even be too obvious as an underdog too, just because they handled
Hmm.
Dayton both times, or like, they lost, but like they were handling Dayton
In
for
it, yeah.
35 minutes. It seemed like, um, but I don't know. I feel like this one is a little more wide open than it appears, if that makes any sense. Because like I don't think Dayton's going to do it. Um, I can certainly tell you the bottom half of this bracket is not doing it. Rhode Island is
No.
atrocious. George Washington is atrocious. LaSalle is
Hmm.
atrocious. Davidson is atrocious. Maybe they're not atrocious, but they're not good. But out like just count those five and then a couple of those other teams. But like I think Dayton, VCU, Loyola Chicago, Duquesne, and like you were a little wishy washy with George Mason, but just because you
Hmm.
mentioned them, we can include it there. And Richmond, like those would probably be the only 5 or 6 I would seriously consider thinking about.
Yeah, I agree. St. Bonaventure isn't the same team that they have been in
No,
years
they're
past.
just
Like
too
they've been
limited
a tourney team.
offensively. Yeah,
Yeah, I agree.
too limited
Um,
offensively.
yeah, I
Because like that's the thing, right? Like if you're the one team in the conference who like consistently plays good defense, like as your specialty, that kind of works. It was kind of like Virginia, right? For all those years, like when they were really good, like they were like consistently one of the teams in the conference that seemed to always play good defense, right? That was their one
mhm,
constant in a conference where defense isn't exactly a priority, right? Like Miami and North Carolina and Duke. Duke is kind of that hybrid where they have good elements of both. That's why they're typically the best team in the conference. Um, and like teams like Syracuse, I mean Syracuse couldn't like stop and I don't know what you could stop, but like they couldn't do it. You know what I mean? Like the 2-3 the 2-3 zone didn't do them any favors. I think they were just lazy on defense and wanted to focus on offense. But like they were good with it, like it worked for them, but like they weren't good defensively. Like to me, anyways. Maybe I'm dead wrong, but I wouldn't imagine so. You're allowing 80 points a game. It seems like I don't think that's very good. But my point is, it's like it's not the niche in the A-10. Like St. Bonaventure is very good defensively, but so is VCU, so is Dayton, so are a couple of the other teams in the conference. Like that's not a specialty there. I don't think they can rely on that to get through because like, what are you going to do? Out defense Dayton? No, you're not.
Mm-hmm.
Like Dayton's better, and they play defense too. Like if it was a run and gun conference and St. Bonaventure emphasized defense, then maybe I would give them a little more of a realistic look. But yeah, I don't think so. Like it's priced nicely. Like if you're willing to part ways with half a unit, that would probably be a good look. Roll it over or hedge out of it once they get to round the quarterfinal or something like that. But otherwise, no, I don't think so. I think it would be between VCU, Dayton, Richmond. You like George Mason. I kind of like Duquesne as that long shot, and then Loyola Chicago. That would probably be it.
Yeah, I agree. I don't know. We might see some Sister Jean magic in this thing.
She doesn't have much magic left. She's 120.
No, she doesn't. That's I don't know. It is. This is a really wide open conference. In that top 8 essentially. Like I wouldn't go any further than the top 8. And even George Mason is like a pretty big question mark for me. Like,
yeah, and I think well, St. Joe's too is kind of been we didn't really mention them, but like they're kind of that bipolar team too. Like they don't play any defense.
They shoot a lot of three. I mean, they're live by the 3, die by the 3. Like if they come out and shoot the lights out, they can probably rattle off 2 games in this thing, but I don't think it'll hold up.
Yeah, and like Fordham is bad. Like they were kind of a darling last year. Like they were like pretty solid for a lot of last year. I'm not sure if they just got gouged by the portal or what, but like
I'm not sure. They're very different from last year.
Yeah, but I mean, I don't know if you have any other closing thoughts in the A-10, but like this team is just like I bet on it so much. I kind of like teams that have been good to me. Like, hey, ride it one more time. Like it, if I had to really, really make a choice, it'd probably be like VCU or Richmond. Or not even Richmond because they won the whole tournament. Like, they won the regular season, so like it'd be Loyola Chicago or VCU for me. I'm just not very high on Dayton.
Yeah, I agree. I think I mean, you're getting a 3 seed at plus 150.
Yeah, I mean that's what I mean. Betting favorite aside, like they took 3rd in their conference and they have a number next to their name.
Yeah.
And they're they're the favorite. The public loves favorites, especially ranked favorites.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not buying it.
No, me either. Well, that's our show, folks. Wrapping up the ACC, Big East, and A-10. Hope you guys are enjoying this. Go give us a follow on Twitter at Overdue Sports. We'll be continually posting our good and bad takes over there. Make sure to check over at our website, overduesports.com, and like and subscribe to these. I hope you guys are enjoying the conference tournament. We're really enjoying running through all these conferences, and
I'm enjoying it, just not specifically enjoying it on a game-to-game basis, but
no.
I enjoy the process. I just don't enjoy some of the results sometimes.
Yeah. Be sure to like and subscribe. We're going to be pumping out content continually over the week with conference tournaments kicking off. The big ones are coming, folks, and we are out of here.
I'm molded in these blueprints, same place you parked your car, and you were always out to get me. Back then we would play too hard, lost in my back.